Coming up on Legislative Review. A bill aimed at improving educational access for blind, deaf, and hard-of-hearing students. Plus, a highly contentious bill concerning gender identity in schools. And modifications to the Hope Card Protection Order program. You're watching Legislative Review. Thanks for watching Legislative Review. I'm Angela Nolasco. We start off today's coverage with a discussion in the House of Representatives.
Substitute Senate Bill 5025. Will the clerk please read?
An act relating to educational interpreters.
Members of the House of Representatives gathered on the House floor Wednesday to discuss a bill aimed at improving educational access for blind, deaf, and hard-of-hearing students. Senate Bill 5025, which passed unanimously last month, could reshape the way educational interpreters are trained and certified in Washington state. Educational interpreters help deaf-blind, and hard-of-hearing students understand their lessons and engage with their peers by translating spoken language into sign language. But right now, not all interpreters are required to meet a uniform set of standards. Some lack formal certification, and this gap has led to concerns over the quality of education for these students. Senate Bill 5025 seeks to change that by requiring educational interpreters to hold a certificate from the Professional Educators Standards Board, or PESB, either with a full certificate or a limited one, depending on the interpreter's qualifications. If passed, all educational interpreters must meet one of these standards by the 2027 to 2028 school year. Democratic Representative Clyde Shavers spoke in favor of the bill.
This bill reflects our core values of inclusion, of opportunity by empowering deaf-blind, and hard-of-hearing students, by breaking down those barriers, by improving educational interpreter standards. By passing this measure, we are not only improving the quality of interpretation, but we are opening doors. We are opening more opportunities, removing those barriers for our children.
Proponents say that without highly trained interpreters, students risk falling behind academically, often by several grade levels, when they transfer to specialized schools later in their education. They believe the new requirements will not only raise the bar for interpreters, but also ensure that every student has equal access to education. Also speaking to support the bill, Republican Representative Joel McIntyre.
When it comes to our school and our children, someone may also put up their hand and say, I have some knowledge of sign language, but we have to have a credentialing process in place. We need to have some way to make sure that there is a standard with which someone is proficient in sign language before they can provide that service.
The question before the House is final passage of Substitute Senate Bill 5025 as amended by the House. The Speaker is about to start the roll call machine. Speaker has started the roll call machine.
The House voted on the bill.
Mr. Speaker, there are 98 yeas, 0 nays, 0 excused.
Having received a constitutional majority, Substitute Senate Bill 5025 as amended by the House is declared passed.
With a unanimous vote, the bill now heads back to the Senate for approval of one amendment by the House Education Committee.
The House Education Committee will come to order.
A highly contentious bill that passed the Senate along party lines was voted on by the House Education Committee Thursday. Senate Bill 5123, which aims to strengthen anti-discrimination protections in Washington's public schools by adding categories to the list of protected classes under state law, namely ethnicity, homelessness, immigration or citizenship status, and neurodivergence, which refers to conditions like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. Perhaps the bill's most controversial feature is the separation of sexual orientation, gender expression, and gender identity into 3 distinct protected classes. Previously, these were grouped together. If the bill passes, they will each be individually recognized as protected under state law. The bill's goal is to protect students from being discriminated against based on who they are, where they come from, or how they identify. While proponents see it as a step towards equality in schools, opponents claim it could be difficult for schools to handle issues related to gender identity and sexuality. During Thursday's executive session, Republican Representative Joel McIntyre proposed an amendment to change the bill's definition of gender identity.
There are only 2 genders. There's only males and there's only females, and no amount of legislation, no amount of explanation can change that. There are things in the universe which just simply are the way they are. A magnet has 2 poles. I don't care what anyone else says. Rather, we could be objective and we can say things that are true according to science. So please vote yes on the amendment so we can get back to sanity.
Speaking in opposition, Democratic Representative Sean Scott.
The language contained within this amendment seeks to define gender identity as something that does not provide a meaningful basis for identification, which on the face of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense and does a lot actually to undercut the idea of gender identity, to say that it is no longer a basis of identification.
Another amendment proposed by Republican Representative Rob Chase would exempt athletic activities classified separately for female and male students from class protections of gender identity and expression.
American democracy expresses the will of the majority, and all the scientifically significant surveys I've seen, a vast majority of people do not want boys, transgender or not, competing with girls in sports.
A point which Democratic Representative Christine Reeves opposed.
I feel compelled this morning, Madam Speaker, to encourage us to vote no on this amendment, to stop repeating the disingenuous arguments that other humans in our society, rather than embracing inclusion and encouraging folks to evolve as the humans that we are, to be more inclusive.
After debating a total of 8 amendments, all of which failed, the committee voted on the bill's passage.
Madam Chair, you have 11 ayes, 8 nays, and 0 excused or absent.
By your vote, you have reported Substitute Senate Bill 5123 from committee with a do pass recommendation.
If enacted in its current language, the bill would give the Superintendent of Public Instruction, or OSPI, the authority to monitor schools for compliance. Members of the Senate Law and Justice Committee held a public hearing on a House bill concerning the Hope Card program. Part of a program designed to help domestic violence survivors and other crime victims, a Hope Card is a portable wallet-sized card detailing information about their protection orders that they can share with law enforcement. These cards serve as an official and easily recognizable document that proves a protection order is in place. House Bill 1460, which passed the House earlier this month with unanimous support, seeks to streamline and simplify the process for obtaining Hope Cards. If enacted, Hope Cards will no longer be in a scannable electronic format. This is a shift from the previous requirement, which aimed to make these cards more accessible, but led to some technical and logistical challenges. And to protect an individual's privacy, the bill pushes for a reduction in identifying information required on the cards. The new version of the Hope Card will only include the names and birth dates of the restrained person and the protected individuals. The bill will also make them free of charge and shift the responsibility of issuing them from individual courts to the administrative office of the courts for a more centralized and efficient process. Republican Representative Dan Griffey sponsored the bill.
The people that are asking for these cards are those people that I think society should give the most mercy and grace to.
Victim advocates say the bill will better support victims of domestic violence, stalking, and harassment. Speaking in favor of the bill, Scott Alf of the Administrative Office of the Courts.
And those protection orders can be somewhere between 12 to 16 pages long. And so to carry that protection order around with them is just a significant burden. And so the person that our staff talked to said that she bought a laptop case to carry around her protection order with her all the time. They're already dealing with things that have disrupted their lives, and to be able to have just one more thing that's helping them out as they go along works well.
No one testified to oppose the bill, which is currently scheduled to be voted on by the committee next month.
Thanks for joining us tonight. To watch an entire legislative hearing or floor debate, check out TVW's archives for on-demand viewing at tvw.org.